how do we come up with the right question to ask during user interview? That's what we'll focus on here today. I'm Ash. I work as a UX researcher. Let's create a little scenario here to help us out. Imagine your team is working on a recipe platform and they're considering if they should add videos to the platform or not. Just keep it with static images. During the user interview, you could be asking questions like,
tell me a little bit about your life in the kitchen. Tell me about a time when you cooked a new recipe. Can you take me step by step how you prepare a meal?
Those are questions opening possibilities for unexpected insights to emerge from the conversation. An easy way to keep this in mind is to go for the how question or questions that start with W, such as what, when, where, which, and who. You could include why there as well, but just be careful. It could lead the participant to feel the responsibility of having to give an answer even when they don't have one.
Why?
What should I say? I have to make something up quick.
So saying something like,
what's your thinking here? Tell me a bit more so I understand.
Gives them a little bit more room to think out loud without having that sense of being prompted to give a straight up answer. During the second half of a user interview, we tend to go more for content mining instead of content mapping. So content mapping is looking at the landscape, we're going broad, and content mining is where you go deeper into the topics raised earlier. An example of a question for content mining would be,
can you go to the point you've mentioned earlier about saving new recipes? Can you expand on this point?
This approach can lead to richer, more detailed data. The interesting thing about probing questions is that we don't usually have them on our question guide. They come up naturally during the interview when we're invested in the conversation with the participant. If you feel there's a risk of a participant giving generic answers, you can try asking specifying questions.
What concretely did you do at this point? Can you give me an example of what happened after watching the video?
The more evidence you collect of concrete or specific things, the more substantial the findings tend to be. Following up on something that the participant said, sometimes just by nodding and leaving sentences unfinished, is enough to prompt them to continue speaking.
And then, because.
So letting some words hang in the air is a way to keep the conversation going. Let's also talk about silence. Have seen this interview with Elon Musk? There's this moment where the interviewer asks a question and there's a 21-second silence until Musk replies. 21 seconds. Research in the United States points to 4 seconds being the most that people tolerate silence in conversations.
Best case is about 5 years.
Using silence to gain more information is a high risk and high reward tactic. If the person has finished their thoughts, there's nothing to be added and it could be pretty awkward. But if you choose the right moment, it can lead participants to expand on their thoughts and create space for reflection. Imagine a participant saying,
oh, I don't look for videos when I'm on the recipe page. It can really help understand the steps and...
And when do you play the video?
Oh, as soon as I find the recipe with the right ingredients.
And here let's look at another example. Same scenario, participant is saying the same thing, but you don't have the interruption.
Oh, I don't look for videos when I'm on the recipe page. It can really help understand the steps and... Yeah, but at the same time, now that I think about it, videos are great for getting me excited. But when I'm prepping food, I'm much more focused on the steps. The video won't be of help if I'm using my phone, right?
You can see that the second example led to a big breakthrough. Once the interviewer allowed the participant to reflect, they came up with something that could have been completely overlooked during the interview. As I've mentioned, silence is one technique. There's one that it's the opposite. It's the long question probe, or going with a preamble before the question.
I've seen some people following measurements for a recipe, while others prefer to eyeball the quantity. Can you share more of your experience when it comes to measuring for recipes?
They're good to get people more in a conversational tone. So if you notice someone who's a bit shy, a bit reserved, the long question probe doesn't lead to better answers, but they can induce participants to start talking. Now let's start looking at the things that we should try and avoid. The big one on the list is leading question. Let me break it down. A leading question implies a specific answer that you're trying to confirm rather than capture the person's thoughts. You see this in courtroom drama when the lawyer asks a witness a loaded question. Would you agree that you often felt frustrated with the victim's behavior?
Objection. Leading the witness.
Imagine if you ask,
Oh, are you looking for videos when you're on a recipe page?
bam, you might have just planted the idea that videos are important, even if the participant haven't thought of that. You want to dodge these leading questions because they can bias participants, leading to fake answers. Plus, they stop us from uncovering those unexpected pieces of info that could really be relevant to the discovery. Let's say that the person might have thought icons are key. By leading them towards video, we've missed the chance to explore this other angle. Of course, we're human and leading questions can slip out during an interview, but if you catch yourself asking one, there's a way to try and counter that. Make a mental note, and a few minutes later, try to ask a question that goes in the complete opposite direction. As an example,
Do you think that having a video here helps?
you can follow up later with,
Can you think of any reasons why a video wouldn't be helpful?
by reframing the original question in reverse, you can see if the person sticks to their original response or reconsiders their thinking. It's not going to undo the first question, but it's a chance to see things from a different perspective. As an example, I remember speaking to someone who was signed up to a TV subscription, and when asked about TV ads, the person was very positive. Like, oh yeah, no, it's great. It's only when I asked about the negative aspects that the person felt they had permission to really speak their minds and listed all the reasons why they disliked ads. We are thinking of questions that we should try and avoid. I've mentioned leading questions. Another one to avoid is hypothetical questions. Even though the person answering wouldn't mind speculating if they would or if they wouldn't watch videos on the platform, the level of trust from an answer like that it's very low. I have another one for you.
How do you usually cook with a recipe?
It doesn't get as good a result as if you ask them.
Can you describe the last time you've used a recipe?
So specific is better than general. And when you hear people asking,
How do you feel about that?
it can help open the person up, but it's quite an abstract question. The valuable stuff usually comes when we go into the concrete side. So follow up the question with something like,
Can you give me a specific example of how you reacted?
we're looking for evidence here. Oh yes, it's fine to use the LSD approach. Let's make this clear. Listen, summarize, and dig deeper. It's fine to use this approach, but be careful not to introduce bias in the follow-up question.
Oh, I tend to cook by myself watching one of those cooking shows.
And you summarize by saying,
So what I'm hearing is that you don't have many friends and you like to watch TV while cooking.
this is your subjective view. And in some cases, the participant may take what you're saying as cue for what they should be saying. What about open-ended and close-ended questions? This is an important distinction. Close-ended questions would be something like,
Do you use cookbooks? Did you have doubts?
these are questions that basically require a minimum amount of info. It's yes or no. They can be used throughout the interview, but obviously, if you're trying to get them to speak as much as possible, the preference is for open-ended questions. And don't assume participants know how to answer your question. If someone misunderstands, find a subtle way to course correct without making them feel embarrassed or ashamed. If they start to feel self-conscious, there's a bunch of reactions that could pollute the conversation and obscure the real valuable findings from the interview. Final point on questions. If you're interviewing someone about a subject they're interested in or care about, do consider getting out of their way and allow them time to speak without interrupting too much. So let's recap. We steer clear of leading questions. We lean more on open-ended questions. Be ready with a list of possible probes and apply techniques like silence and specifying questions as necessary. We try to listen, summarize, and dig deeper, but avoid adding interpretation. Stick close to their words. We try to be concrete and specific as possible instead of abstract or general. It takes a bit of practice, but that's how I learned too. If you haven't seen it yet, I made a whole video that goes more in depth into everything user interviews, so check it out. And subscribe if you're interested in more content like this, and I'll see you around.